We welcome you once again to Inside Earlham College Golf. We're going to talk about the program as the season, or at least this season, has come to an end. And we'll talk with Matt GEHRING coming up in a couple of moments right here at Radio Troy Digital Sports.
The Drewry Performance Gymnasium, dedicated on February 6 of 2016, is home to Schuchman Court and the Earlham men's basketball, women's basketball, and volleyball teams. Built to seat 1,800 fans, the facility features a full-length basketball court with locker rooms for home and visiting teams. Schuchman Court is painted with volleyball lines and can also support 2 basketball courts for intramural play. An observation room above allows for video streaming and media members to view the game from above. 2 storage areas are located in either corner of the facility, with a concession stand located just outside the main entrance.
We're back once again on Inside Earlham College Golf with head coach Matt GEHRING. And coach, the season came to a close here recently, and you've got to be pleased when you look at the overall aspect of what happened this season, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was, you always want to see when you have a group of freshmen, you kind of want to see how they progress. And from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, it was good to see the scores come down. Yeah. It was good to see the tournament scores come down as a team. Obviously the women didn't compete as a team, but just the 3-person scores, constantly came down, and with the men's scores, they also came down. So It's like I've always said, it's for the men, we build for the spring. For the women, we always build to improve in the spring, but then we build for the next fall. So as a coach, couldn't be much more pleased with that.
As you mentioned, they get a chance now, and I'm still touting this because it's exciting to know that when the weather's bad outside, you get them back inside because of all the facilities you have available to you. So now, from your standpoint, what's your game plan here as we head toward the winter months?
So it's not unfortunate. The rules are the rules, but so as a coach in Division III, you're hands off in the off season. So
come on.
Well, you're hands off. You can't really. Our athletic department, we're hands off. So,
right.
What you hope and what you preach and you harp on during the season is, my philosophy is you don't win championships during the season.
Right.
It's what's done in the off season when nobody's looking. So I think everybody's kind of bought into that. We've got our indoor, the Quaker Golf Studio that we have our simulator in. It's all set up. Everybody knows how to use it. So we have that. We're fortunate enough that Forest Hills is allowing us to continue to have our players go out there and play until really the golf season is done. So we're very fortunate enough that we have a lot of people that are backing the program to allow our student athletes to continue to improve. And like I said, they've been taking the last week off, especially for the guys, and I think they're going to get back at it here in the next week. And the women, we just finished last weekend, and I think they're going to take some time off before they get back into the studio to continue to work onto their game and to progress towards the spring.
What did you see last week for the women in the HCAC championships?
So the first round, it was encouraging. The first round was very encouraging. It was at a tough course. I mean, Holman Links it's no joke. It was hard conditions. The courses were hard. You were getting 10, 15, 20 yards a roll on your shots. They had airified the greens, so there was sand on it. So every time you hit the green, sand was coming up and you weren't getting a lot of spin. Specifically for the second day, the pins were in some pretty challenging locations, weren't really receptive to shots, so you really had to play some strategic and placement golf. And the scores across the board, not just for us, across the board, for all of the teams were 5 to 6 shots higher on Sunday than they were on Saturday. So I think everybody experienced the same frustrations. It was good to see the mental side, that the girls weren't giving up. They were continuing to fight throughout the round. It's so easy when you have those conditions just to be like, well, I can't, you're not going to be able to get to the green. You're not going to be able to get your putts. It's easy to just fold. And none of our girls did that. They did shoot a little bit worse the second day, but it was good to see that their mental game was still there and they still fought through the entire round. And golf's 90% mental anyways, so that was encouraging from a coaching standpoint to see.
You will be hitting the recruiting trail, not that you haven't already throughout the season, because
it's a never-ending game.
You're doing it 12 months out of the year. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. So what's next for you? What are you trying to accomplish during this time?
Yeah, we're just trying to round out the recruiting class. We've got a good head start. I'll say that. in regards to last year. Last year we were waiting, the first year of the program, we were waiting around for April to come around before we were getting any decisions. We've got a good head start on it, I feel.
Good.
The next coming months, after we get some more of our highly taught recruits on campus to kind of see everything, we should be getting more of our decisions roll in. Of course, at this point, nobody's been accepted. Nobody's gotten their financial aid package in Division III. No athletic scholarships, so you really have to see what the final number is. So that's kind of what we're waiting on now. But I think with all of the efforts that we have made as an athletic department in the off season, and changing around my strategy a little bit, I think we're ahead of the ball game in some aspects, and I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic about how this recruiting class can kind of form. So it could go in a lot of different directions right now, but I'm pleased with the progress that we've made.
That's not easy as head coach, is it?
No, and especially when it's just you. No real full-time assistant. It's tough. You got to be in 12 different places at once, trying to be on the phone, be texting, try to watch some kids play when you get a chance. But it's fun. For me, the golf side is obviously, the number one priority, but it's just as fun for me to go out and watch some of the young talent play and interact with some of the kids and interact with the parents. That's just as fun for me. So this part, even though the season's over with and you never want to see the season come to an end, this is just another part of the job, and it's so much fun to be able to do the things that you do in the off season.
Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit before I let you go.
Okay.
What different will you do in your next season that and it could be good or bad, whatever the case may be, that you want to change, that you didn't do or did do in the first season?
Well, I think it was a matter of numbers this year. I didn't have, with the women, there wasn't a full team. And with the guys, we had just enough to form a team.
Yeah.
My philosophy is I like to have enough players that there's always that threat at the end of the week that you may not play if you're not performing.
Okay.
And having the numbers to allow us to do that is kind of where we weren't at this year. So, being able to have another recruiting class come in, being able to have that, hey, if you're not performing and you're not working hard at practice, you're not guaranteed to play on the weekend.
Yeah.
In my last job, when we first started, we had this situation where we had just enough to play. And then as we added some, practices seemed to elevate a little bit more, players seemed to focus a little bit more, and as a result, each year the scores were coming down at a really good rate.
Right.
So I'm anxious to see when we get more players in and the competition at practice is there. I think that's really going to be the launching point, when you're not guaranteed a roster spot on the weekend, because everybody wants to play on the weekend, and they're going to work their hardest during the week to make sure that they're able to do that. So that's probably what's going to change. And again, it's not something that I didn't do this year. It's just numbers wise we couldn't do it.
Right.
I think everybody bought into the program this year. What we try to do with the morning workouts and then afternoon practice, I think it worked for everybody. And I think that they see what college golf is like, and I think having that season or having that year to kind of season and gain some maturity with it, I think that's really going to help solidify the culture of the program. And again, that's another challenge is we didn't have a culture to the program.
Yeah.
And especially when golf is such an individualistic sport, it's even that much harder to develop a culture.
Yeah.
But I think they've really bought into what we're trying to do. So I'm really anxious to see. I'm anxious for the guys season in the spring, but I'm more anxious to see what kind of happens when we add another recruiting class in to kind of see how does it elevate, how does it push everybody.
I'm glad you used that word, because that was coming next out of my mouth. We all need a push now and then, don't we?
Absolutely. And with golf, it's one of those things that you can become complacent and you can become, kind of set in your ways. Especially if you're going every weekend, what's the where's the push in practice to say, hey, I don't need to get better because I'm going to go play anyways. If there's that added push, if you've got to constantly look over your shoulder, I think in sports, there's some sports that are different than others, but in golf, especially when you're playing 4 or 5 and you're looking over your shoulder that somebody's there to take your spot, I think it kind of pushes everybody's focus to another level and their dedication and hard work at practice to another. Not to say that we didn't have guys that worked hard, because everybody across the board was fantastic with their work ethic and dedication this season. I just think that no matter what, you can always be pushed a little bit more.
I agree. Well, Coach, good to see you again.
Thanks, Troy.
Stay in touch,
Appreciate it.
okay?
Absolutely.
And I want to remind everybody that you can keep updated on the Earlham golf programs throughout the entire year on GoEarlham.com. And of course, if you have some news, let us know.
Absolutely.
And we'll get you back on to talk about some of the things that are going on in the off season, because as he said, never stops.
Nope, never.
Not the way it is these days. And we'll see you again next time right here on Inside Earlham College Golf on Radio Troy Digital Sports.